Hi, my name's Mandy Pearson, and I'm here this morning with Mabel Schenone, who's the author of the new book, Resilient Loving. And I've known Mabel for quite a while and was delighted to be asked to contribute a bit by editing the book in an informal kind of way. And I'm also a writer and a psychotherapist, so I was fascinated by the content of your book, Mabel. So would you tell us a bit about you, Mabel? Can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Well, my name is both Mabel when I'm back home in Argentina or Mabel here in the UK. And I'm very happy for everybody to call me Mabel here. And yes, we were just chatting. I don't consider myself an author. I just wrote a book. I happen to be who I am, and I love writing and reading. And because my husband was diagnosed with autism a few years ago, I started finding out more and more and getting to know more people like me. And I noticed there was a need for more support. And, I cannot give it one-to-one all the time. So I said, well, how can I do it? I think the book was born that way.
Amazing. So what do you think's different and fresh about this book, Mabel?
Mm. I think it's very practical. I'm going, well, my intention was to give bite-sized exercises and reflections and activities so that we could reconnect with the true self, with our needs, which gets adapted so many times in our relationships, and examine, who we really are and how we are and our strengths and our potential and what the tools we have, and also add on to the set of tools we already have. So I think the idea was to spread hope to people, because many times we get so much pain in the misunderstandings that happen in the relationship, in the lack of reciprocity, especially in some cases in the lack of intimacy. So I wanted to bring some hope and some practical tools in terms of
Hmm.
communication, in terms of relation as well.
Yes,
Relationship.
absolutely. I think what struck me most about the book is how practical and accessible it is. It doesn't have a lot of jargon. It's very much aimed at everybody, and a lot of people can get benefit from it. So the content structure, you mentioned there's tools, but it's kind of falls into three areas. So there's emotional self-care, there's the communication area, and then the companion. So can you tell me kind of why you decided to choose that sort of format?
It sort of evolved through conversations with you, really, when we were editing the material, because I realized I wanted an ebook rather than a published book where people could write on the line and do many more things. And the format didn't lend itself for journaling, for moving things around, for making it our own tool. So um, the companion evolved out of that. I said, well, we cannot do it on an ebook. Let's create another tool, a separate tool, which is more like a resource, a practical resource where you can interact much more on a different depth with the material. So that's where the companion came in, and that's why I offer it in a Word format, which is very easy to edit, and people can pick and choose what they want, and they can add pages if they want. And there's new material there which is not included in the book.
Yeah, so it's very interactive. There's a
Yeah.
way people can join in with that.
Yeah, my idea is for people to have something they can pick up when they're not 100%, for instance, and do things that are small, so little and often, repeat different
Yeah, and
activities
I think there's
to give
such a
it.
lot of content you know, a lot of tools that are really helpful to people in the book. It's probably nice to just be able to pull a few out and write them down as you're going along as well. And
yeah, and I'm amazed because the book serves as a reminder to myself. So many times I'm rereading or working on a graphic or whatever, and I think, oh, I wrote this, I had forgotten. And I think that will happen to many people as well, because we read, we learn, and then we forget. Well, especially when we're stressed, when we are facing difficulties. So it's been useful for myself as well, and I hope it can be useful for more people and help them.
yes, absolutely. And you know, for me also, there's a benefit to kind of just being able to open the book and, or you know, open your book, ebook, whatever, and just dip into it and read whatever seems to pop up for the day. It's very inspiring. A lot of the tools are really inspirational that you could just dip into and dip out of, I guess.
Yes, and on the same wavelength, and it's also your contribution. I created the flashcards with some of the graphics, some of the main points. So I have them on my phone, and sometimes I need quick fix. So I have a look. Oh, right, yeah, list, and it works for me. So I would be very interested to see whether it works for other people as well as it works for me.
Yeah. So how can people join in and give you some kind of, you know, sort of comments or feedback or things that, you know, things that excited them about the book? How can they join in?
I seem to be good at creating spaces. And I
Yeah,
have created
sure.
several different
Yeah.
spaces. There is a forum now, it's already active. And people who want to join that forum can email me, because it's a private forum. We share very, I don't know, vulnerable experiences. So not I need to make sure that the people who are there for the right reasons, and not to sell products or to create chaos in the group. So that's an option. There's also the support group on Meetup, and the link is in the book as well. And there is a contact form as usual on my website. And there's also an email address on the book, on the website, that you can use. And I think that's all for now, but I'm
Lots
sure
of
many
ways
more
to get,
channels.
there's lots of ways to get involved for people.
Yeah. The main message for me is that we can move from pain and suffering to a level of understanding, serenity, um, hope. That's an important word for me. Um, and we will not always get it right. And I share experiences. Well, I'm still working on the book. I'm still working on this, and I haven't found the solution for this. It's work in progress all the time, because we're human beings. Life changes. There are many unpredictable factors coming up, but we are not stuck, in the pain. We don't need to have all this suffering of the misunderstanding from both sides. I want to build like a bridge between the neurotypicals and the autistic community in a way, and I know they might struggle to understand us because the way their brain functions, but it's like we also fail to understand them many times, and I want to help in that context, do my bit.
Yeah, and I know how important this is to you personally, and you shared quite a lot of your personal story in the book. I'm wondering how was that for you? How was the process of writing that for you? How was it to take on something that's so important and real to you, you know?
There is only one aspect that I found difficult when I was speaking about Cassandra. And I have to admit, I'm very careful with the way I write, because I don't know who's going to be reading that, and it may end up being read by relatives who don't know about the diagnosis, for instance. So I had to find a balanced way of describing my experience so that people could relate to that, without giving away too much.
Yes.
And so that was tricky.
Yeah.
And especially the section on Cassandra was very painful. It's an area that affects me daily. And there's a lot of pain connected to that aspect, how it has affected us in the last few years. So it's still raw. But I wanted it to be here, to be there, because I'm sure other people are going through the same, and many people talk about it from a theoretical point of view, and I wanted to talk about my experience, really, my feelings, and how I navigated things.
Yeah, I think that's something that the book really succeeds, and you've really succeeded in doing, is getting that balance between, you know, teaching people a little bit about communication and what and some very personal, you know, stories, and I think people are going to connect to it brilliantly. Is there anything that you'd like to leave people with today? Anything, final words?
Well, always a pleasure to speak to you, Mandy. What can I? Yes, I would like to emphasize a point I haven't made very strongly, which is the need for community, the need to speak out, to speak to other people who understand us, who can validate our experiences. And of course, I love the support group on Meetup, which I'm organizing. But you know, there are different support groups in different areas, and if you don't like doing it online, then you have to look for something local. But the Meetup support group for partners of people on the autism spectrum is open to people from all over the world who can speak English. So
that's so important.
I thoroughly recommend it. It's been great for me,
Yeah.
and yes, as a user, in a way, as a member. So I really recommend it, that you find some support from your friends and from other people who are going through the same thing.
Absolutely.
For me, that's vital. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And a good therapist like you. That's a cherry on top.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was wonderful to talk to you, Mabel. I think we'll leave it there, shall we?
Yes. Thank you very much. And we'll leave there. See you.